Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome to a new reaction. I'm doing a lot of those recently. This is The Story of Minecraft Dungeons by Xatrix. And this is another reaction suggestion I got on my Discord server. Complete transparency here. I'm loving the fact that I'm able, that I have enough people on my Discord server now that I'm actually able to, start doing like requests like this more often. So anyway, yeah. A video about Minecraft Dungeons, one of the forgotten Minecraft spin-offs that was abandoned because it didn't do as well as the original. At least I think it was abandoned, right? Like, they haven't added anything new to it in a while, I think. Anyway, I don't actually know that much about Minecraft Dungeons, besides, I know that Minecraft Dungeons was used to fill in some of the gaps for, like, when game theory is doing their, like, timeline and trying to figure out the history of Minecraft and stuff like that. Other than that, don't really know much besides the fact it's Dota-like, Minecraft-themed. Yeah, I really don't know much about it, but, it's Minecraft, and honestly, truthfully, it has been one of those things that, I have wanted to play. It just constantly keeps getting pushed back because of other things, which, is kind of sad and annoying, but, that's life sometimes. Anyway, that's enough lollygagging for now, so let's actually get into this. So, yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video lead to my Let's Play today, and yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Minecraft is a unique game. Unique in a sense that no matter how one plays, they can still make their own story for the world around them. Stories told through my favourite Minecraft spin-offs, like Dungeons and Legends, are one of the major reasons I'm drawn to them. To see what they offer, not just by themselves, but to the expanded universe. Apparently not as many people know about the story of Minecraft Dungeons, considering there's also a fully canon novel to extend it.
Wait, really? I mean, I knew there were Minecraft novels before, and there's like, what is it, like The Island or something like that? I know there were, like, the audiobook is narrated by Jack Black. But yeah, I didn't know there were books about the spin-offs. I didn't think they were popular enough.
And in light of potential rumors of a new installment for Dungeons, it may
Really?
be worth covering what exactly happens
never
in this
mind.
game. So I'll be doing a recap on the rough story events of Minecraft Dungeons. Though I'd still recommend taking in the game and novel for yourself, as there's far more intricate details to be found beyond what is said here. If you enjoy the video, consider subscribing. The story of Minecraft Dungeons starts with an official prequel novel of the game, The Rise of the Arch-Illager, showing Archie's rise to power, ending right before the first events of the main game.
Archie. Is that literally what his name is? Archie the Arch-Illager? Or is that just a nickname? I mean, I could see it being both ways.
Archie spent his early years living amongst the Illagers, whose society could be brutal. He lived on a small continent-like landmass, known simply as the mainland area on the in-game map. Here we learn that within the Illager community, respect lies in strength, might, and viciousness. Something this little guy doesn't have. And weakness was a terrible thing to display out in the open. Archie is forced to go on a patrol with a raiding party, which is soon slaughtered by a hero by the name of Carl, leaving only him and an evoker named Thord, his bully and rival since childhood, alive. The only reason he hadn't killed Archie already being due to the Illager leaders cracking down on his violent tendencies. After making their way back, Thord blames Archie's weakness and cowardice for the fall of their comrades, leading to Walder, the Illager leader of their tribe, which now dwells in a woodland mansion, to exile Archie into the dangerous wilds that surrounded his once home.
Let's listen to this. When did this book come out? Because I know Minecraft Dungeons came out in, like, 2020. Oh, that also came out in 2020. Okay. It's funny. Like, again, with Minecraft being such, like, an open sandbox, as it were, apart from, like, very basic things you can get just by watching the NPCs do their thing, like how, like, villagers, don't have weapons, can't defend themselves, apart from, the occasional iron golem if a settlement is big enough, or, the Illagers, actually having weapons. So there's the cultural difference you can see right there. It is fascinating, like, seeing, like, actual detail and world building put into something that is so just open-ended. like to the extreme that, like, Minecraft is. Because I can completely understand how sometimes, like, for some people, like, official canonization, so however you might want to call it, wouldn't work. How, given the way you might have imagined, you know, the stuff in Minecraft working. But at the same time, it is funny and quite cool to see, like, what could potentially be seen as, like, you know, the canon way they're supposed to be depicted, since, you know, there's a very much a lack of it in, you know, the normal game, and you have to depend on, like, the spin-offs and the books based on them to kind of, like, fill in the many gaps there are.
Archie wandered through the dark plains beyond the mansion, being chased by undead mobs until sunrise, which is when he comes across a village located on the Squid Coast, so about here on the mainland. The visual kind of spoils events to come, ignore that. While first met with panic from the villagers, one villager named Yumi decides to welcome him in, becoming Archie's first true friend. Archie takes residence there for a while, which during so, Yumi teaches Archie how to read, because apparently if you're not a strong or even remotely useful illager, no one can be bothered to teach you basic things like how to read and write, when they don't even see you as being worth the time. And Archie hadn't shown any aptitude for magic either. Eventually Carl, along with 4 other heroes, show up to the village, with Archie and the other villagers that have been housing the little illager being shown aggression from Carl. The villagers decide they need to kick Archie out for their safety, separating him from the only place he's ever called home, where he was truly safe, and with the only friend he's ever made. Archie travels from place to place throughout the land, being forced to move from the undead chasing after him, up through the lava canyons up north, through the desert, and finally coming across a large mountain, which he notes he would never climb, but is forced to by the spiders which had chased him up.
You know, they keep saying that he has, like, no discernible skills and that he's weak and all that sort of stuff. But, like, the fact that he was able to, like, keep moving and survive so long just by himself, I mean, kind of proves otherwise.
Eventually, the chasing spiders are smashed off the cliff by very conveniently timed and placed falling debris from higher up. Archie uses this to his advantage and climbs up relatively safely. Archie reaches a flat piece of mountain where he finds a giant doorway, briefly illuminated by a lightning strike, with handles placed high above his reach. The massive doors open, letting him walk inside to escape the cold rain, but something further in whispers to him, beckoning to come closer. He first thought it was the winds, but he realized that it was actually words he was hearing throughout the entire day. He was terrified and wanted to flee. Don't be afraid. Come closer. I am here for you. I offer you power. The glowing cube of shifting colors announces its name, the Orb of Dominance, and it plans to help him rule the world, saying it is his destiny. The more it talks to him in his head, the less control he has. Feeling drawn to the orb, with his body briefly moving, not of his own accord, the Orb of Dominance becomes too eager, which temporarily breaks the trance.
Again, Minecraft, you gotta love that, you know, it's the Orb of Dominance, not the cube. Because at this point, everything's a cube.
But this power was immense, and though Archie didn't believe himself worthy of power, he was going to take it anyway. He meets the redstone golems, and after that, he and the orb make plans for a massive construct. After some time getting used to the power of the orb and his new colossal castle, High Block Keep and the Obsidian Pinnacle located just beyond, the orb plots to grant him subjects to rule over. The orb advises that he needs to enlist his old illager tribe to become his army and join him in his new fortress, High Block Castle. Peering into the orb, viewing the world from above as if he were a bird, Archie spots some of the illagers from his old home, including Thord, fighting an undead army within the desert, being badly wounded. So he decides to bring a few redstone golems down with him to wipe out the undead threat. Amazed and enthralled by Archie's display of power, the illagers cheer, and Archie takes the chance to invite the entire tribe, using Thord as a messenger. While the illagers prep to take the entire tribe on a journey, Archie takes the time to construct the early formations of the Fiery Forge.
Hey, wait a second, that was a water wheel. I thought this was a vanilla Minecraft. This obviously has create stuff in it.
To make more golems. After they arrive, Archie settles them into High Block Keep until they begin their first major mission. The Illager army attempts to raid the Squid Coast, planning to capture the villagers of the village to then put them to work as unwilling workers, mining materials to supply the redstone golem production line. Mid-attack, a group of undead jump into the fight, with Archie being shot by a skeleton twice, with his consciousness quickly fading out as he hears Yumi, once friend, now betrayed, telling him he deserves it. He wakes up healed by the orb, but carried and tied to the back of a skeleton used as a stretcher, surrounded by the group of undead that had interrupted the fight, led by a necromancer, quickly understanding that the necromancer had followed them throughout the entire journey, from the desert temple to the Squid Coast. Eventually, he's brought to the desert temple, face to face with the ruler of the undead, the Nameless One. The Nameless One speaks about this new ruler's rise, either Archie or the return of the orb. After speaking, they decide to ally with each other, the Nameless Kingdom and the Illager Empire. Using the orb's power, the undead are granted immunity to the sun's light, and in exchange, giving Archie a larger army to control.
Oh jeez, that would be horrible. Can you imagine? Oh, I could imagine somebody making a mod, like a semi-story pack mod or something you could do, where, oh god, something happens, and the undead mobs are no longer affected by the sun, and you have to go out and, like, oh god, can you imagine a story mode mod for Minecraft that basically adds something like this to the base game, where you have to go and find the orb and destroy it so that the undead can start burning in the sunlight again. Oh, that'd be pretty fun.
As the orb is able to command the dead Archie comes across. Upon Archie's return to the High Block Keep, the other Illagers are surprised that he's alive, and more so by the undead behind him, now under
I've
his
never
control.
seen
Using
an Iron
the orb
Golem move
to
that
peer
quickly
into the
before.
Fiery Forge and check up on the Illager workforce placed there. He realizes that Thord is over at his forge, stealing valuable resources, using a redstone golem pulling a makeshift sled, prompting him to go over to the forge to make an example of him, which includes pressing him into a pool of lava.
Dramatic. Yeah.
Not too long after, Archie and his troops decide to re-attack the Squid Coast village. Archie sending Walder and the undead to attack and burn down the 4 heroes' houses as a form of distraction, giving the army time to attack properly, without any more interruptions. As they arrive at the edge of the village, the Illagers chanting as they itch for the upcoming fight, Archie starts to wonder if he can save Yumi, or if he should call it off at all, letting his conscience break through, until the orb, who's listening to his internal dialogue, retorts, "You are overstepping your boundaries." Whether Archie wanted to or not, this is the role he's going to play. He will be the villain of the story. So as he unwillingly destroys the village that once took him in, chasing off Carl with a massive new golem, the redstone monstrosity, and proceeds to capture the residents, the other 4 heroes, Adrien, Hal, Hex, and Valerie, look on and decide together that they are going to put an end to this reign, and everything that comes with it.
Okay, and that was just in the book. Really interesting. And, oh god, you know, just hearing all this talk, I really wish there were more golem types in, you know, in-game. Like, I know that we've had, you know, the ideas for, like, copper golems and the tough golems that were put up to the mob votes and never really passed. Honestly, I don't think I'd be, you know, that, you know, depressed if they just added more golems that were, like, upgraded versions of iron golems, or they were tougher or something like that. But honestly, just, I love the idea of making your own little, like, automatons in this game and just having them do stuff or protect you. I wish we had more of it. I know there are mods, but still, I wish there was something more vanilla.
Kicking off the events of the Minecraft Dungeons game. Starting off with the Squid Coast, the heroes make it there too late, just to see the destruction left behind by the Arch-Illager's troops. Reaching the highest peak of the village, they decide to set up camp, turning into the main hub for the rest of the game. The next place of interest is the Creeper Woods, a described mob-infested maze of where a caravan is transporting the last of the captured villagers, being sent off to work in far-off locations, where our heroes find and free them. The majority of the levels are less storied compared to the Arch-Illagers segment, being a straightforward mission and nothing much else, except for the many bits of environmental storytelling around these locations. Within the Creeper Woods, multiple crypts can be found, filled with undead, with one structure containing a unique villager that joins you in the lobby. You find many more in multiple locations, but it's interesting to see one that's completely removed from the hands of the Illagers. Perhaps they were run out by the several creepers that infested this place.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think out of all of the monsters you face in Minecraft, besides, like, you know, the Wither or the dragon, which, you know, you have to go out of your way to fight, I think the creeper quite literally is the scariest monster in the game, just because, you know, it sneaks up and explodes. And oftentimes, you know, by the time you hear the hiss, it's you're close to being too late, unless you're, like, very careful.
After completing the Creeper Woods, 4 levels unlock simultaneously, so there's not much of a specific order for them. The Pumpkin Pastures is another village that's entered the Arch-Illagers' crosshairs for attack. The last one in this land to be attacked. But getting into this village is a bit harder, however.
I was wondering, what's going on with this house? Like, is it just abandoned? Or is that some sort of version of, like, a thatch roof or something like that with the plants? Or what's going on there?
However, surrounded by moats and drawbridges, which some of the undead and Illager forces have already made their way through. Throughout the level, your main mission is to get to the village square, to warn the remaining villagers of the incoming threat, passing multiple burnt houses and farmland. Nothing much really of note here. I've seen some people have thought the boss at the end of this level, an evoker, is Walder, which is more of a fan headcanon from the Minecraft wiki if anything. There is nothing that confirms this idea, but it's a nice what if. Within the soggy swamps lies a coven of witches. Akin to how villagers live in villages, this is a community that the Arch-Illager has enlisted to brew potions to strengthen his forces. So you are tasked with taking out the brewing stations and destroying the sentient, golem-like corrupted cauldron and brought into being using the orb. As
stuff like that, you have to wonder. I wonder if they'd ever add something like that in a future, like a future update where, you know, you can find, like, witches' cabins in swamps. But maybe in, like, a 1 in 1,000 chance, instead of just a cabin, you find, like, a coven, which has, like, maybe, like, 5 or 6 witches there in, like, a bigger, more complex structure with the ability to find, like, more and better loot and stuff like that. That could be really fun.
As you make your way through the swamps, there's a lot of ancient ruins dotted within, near the witch huts, with the witches dwelling in said ruins. Witches seem to place themselves in ruins of old, many of which we've talked about in the latest theory video for our 5k special. We go way more in depth with that video, so check that out if you want to. Next, the redstone mines. The main reason for capturing the villagers for their labour, mining redstone and diamonds to melt together in order to form a steady production of redstone golems. Like vanilla, there's a lot of clustered spawners placed around these mines, with these ones spawning undead there as a quick way to summon in backup. Because at this point, they probably figured you'd be here to free their new workers at some point. At the very end, you're faced with the first redstone golem you'll fight in the game, which is one of many if you don't stop the production off at the forge. After completing this level, you unlock the Fiery Forge, entering from the redstone mines. It makes sense to be the next place of action to attack. Another straightforward one, get into the forge, overload the cores powering the facility, smash the biggest war machine, the redstone monstrosity, and get out. Interestingly, within the environment, aside from all the industrial equipment there, lies areas that seem older, with additions that do not fit at home with the heavy machineries.
Yeah, I mean, like, 2 things. 1, this video is really making me want to play Minecraft. 2, I mean, the whole thing, I guess that you could classify that as, you know, them moving into an older structure, kind of retrofitting it. Honestly, I mean, that just seems par for the course with, like, the inhabitants of, you know, the Minecraft world as it stands. I mean, if you go with the whole, like, ancient builder theory, and that they left or were extinct or something like that, and then you just have the villagers and the illagers that come from them. villagers don't really build that much. Like, they build like little villages and they just sort of exist. Illagers, they kind of go a bit more out of your way with, like, you know, the with the watchtowers and the woodland mansions and stuff like that. But, like, again, most of it is all like wood. There's very little stonework there, unless, you know, it's in a desert or something. So I don't have a hard time believing that, you know, they simply just, you know, move into these giant leftover structures and ruins from, you know, the ancient builders and just retrofit and use them for whatever purpose. Because, like, looking at those, are those bookshelves in the back? If those were there originally, I can very much see this as being like some sort of like archive or library or something like that, that just so happened to be close to, you know, a lava source or an energy source, and they just turned it into the workshop to, the forge, I should say. They just turned it into the forge to start making the golems, especially since you have the orb of creation that can just magically do things with a wave of its hand.
It's being more ruined than the main sections of the cavernous forge. Coming to the end of the level, the heroes face against the redstone monstrosity. It stands larger than the redstone golems, and it's clear why this thing is Archie's workhorse for combat, intimidation, and transport. So
it's very
apparently
big.
Archie uses this thing as a mobile throne of sorts, sitting between its massive horns that both jut out from the sides of its head. In the novel, apparently just looking at it invokes some sort of primal fear, or at least uncomfortability. What's even more unnerving, however, is the fact that it laughs. Redstone golems and the monstrosity are constructs. More like robots, if anything, taking orders to the letter, keeping only their directive in mind.
I mean, yeah, I always imagined them being like that. I mean, it'd be kind of freaky if you made this thing out of iron to protect you and it started crying.
The monstrosity, however, seems almost like a pet for Archie. Maybe after hearing Archie's maniacal cackle so many times, it tries to do it itself, almost imprinting on him, mimicking his behavior. This is truly Minecraft's best father-son dynamic. The Cacti Canyon level is focused on finding the entrance to the desert temple, so not much to really say here. There are a lot of ruins, with occupying Illager forces, probably sent...
You know, I'm just thinking, like, how do you think they designed these levels? Because I'm actually genuinely kind of curious. Like, do you think that they, like, you know, just normally, you know, modeled out, textured out, you know, just did normal game design? Or do you think that maybe they roughed out the levels using regular Minecraft first, before anything else, just to see, you know, if it felt like right? Because just the idea that, you know, you have like the art pass and the design teams literally just playing Minecraft and like flying around, like making the levels and the paths and stuff like that. The idea of that I just find it really funny.
Here to help Archie in his quest to steal power over the undead, actively severing the alliance they established in the novel, taking the undead troops for himself. Alongside the weird bridges and such, there's a ton of giant fossils made of chiseled quartz. Which is weird because the development team when building could have just used normal bone blocks, but went with these, maybe as some sort of monument to their power over death. We make our way into the bowels of the desert temple.
I mean, it's weird, but I mean, this is a weird enemy.
Reside. A vast and ancient kingdom, said to be wiped away by the wind-blown sands of the desert.
It points towards ancient builders lore.
Interestingly, in the story description of this level, it seems like Archie and the Nameless One have already turned on each other. Archie still has control over a certain amount of undead for now, but their trust in each other has already been broken. At first, it's not exactly clear which was the first to betray the other, but the fact that the description says Archie is going for his staff, it was probably Archie who initiated it, wanting more power to himself. This place is filled with gold, emeralds, riches untold.
Yeah, it's the orb. It's slowly corrupting and polluting his mind.
Along with reserves of fresh water.
You're not supposed to be here.
The perfect oasis for a desert civilization. Beyond this beauty, there's a lot of traps and hidden rooms in these ancient crypts. Making your way to the end of the temple, you find the Nameless One, lying on a flat tomb with multiple vanguard kneeled beside him. The boss fight's starting when you wake him up. The fight here shows some of the power that this being has. teleportation, mirror spells. With the immense damage compared to anything else in this game, it seems this particular entity is very strong. Even its boss theme contrasts every single other boss theme in the game, being a slow, drumming beat as he closes in, with sounds like groans like that of a zombie heard throughout. At the end of the fight,
You know, I can't remember where I heard it, but I remember seeing something. I think it was like a post on Tumblr. Somebody talking about the idea that, like, the zombies and skeletons aren't just coming from nowhere. They're quite literally, like, all of the past, like, lives that you've lost whenever you die in a Minecraft world. And thinking about that, if that was actually true, that would potentially mean that whoever you're playing is literally seeing their rotting corpse, their own rotting corpse walking towards them. That'd be very weird.
defeating the Nameless One, the ruler of the undead, you destroy its staff in the process, stopping the Arch-Illager from getting a hold of it, as the monster disappears in a bright flash of green energy. The novel makes it clear that the Nameless One would not simply subject itself to needless danger. He plays its cards and knows how to play them. There's a reason the Nameless One had gotten to become as old as he had. Perhaps he may return. This won't be the last we see of the Nameless One. But maybe a more in-depth analysis look into this character would be in order. A future theory on this ruler of death. For what is dead may never die. Finally, you've made it to High Block Keep, starting in the halls of the lower sections. This place's ancient history has been built over by the new residents. Venturing further and further in, you see your adversaries living within these walls are Illagers and Wraiths. Wraiths are a strange choice, but being more soulful like the Necromancers. It seems they're more intelligent than the average undead, as they clearly trust them inside the castle, among the Illagers. Not much else apart from all the old passages. By the time you get to the main throne room, Archie summons a ton of troops to attack, as he flees to the Obsidian Pinnacle, the top of his fortress. Making our way up there, there's a lot going on.
It's above
Illagers,
the clouds.
Redstone golems.
Though I will say, points off for not having regular Minecraft clouds. I would have liked just seeing really quickly moving squares just moving through the building.
Strange gargoyles, and areas where you dip into
like
maze-like libraries. And stuff like this. Another monstrosity, unfinished or under repairs. It looks to be much stronger than the redstone monstrosity would have ever been, using obsidian in the insides. Cracks permeating the surface, revealing a purple glow. In some places, the texture of a portal. It's never brought up again, but the obsidian monstrosity does appear in the arcade version as a boss, but no lore is given there either. That is if the arcade version can be considered canon. The Arch-Illager did state in the novel that he would likely create more monstrosities, with this likely being one of them. After fighting through the toughest of troops that fought with their lives to protect their leader, now you face him yourself. Archie flies into the arena, darting around, laughing and taunting you. The orb whirring past before landing in the middle, initiating the fight.
Iron Golem, go! I love the idea that, you know, he's there charging his attack to destroy you, and just an Iron Golem slowly trottles up behind him and just smacks him out of the air. Oh god, that'd be funny. That's true cutscene material right there.
The Arch-Illager has finally decided to stop running and begins to fight back, summoning troops around him, sending blasts of magic around the area, teleporting around, and rarely summoning a redstone golem to assist him. Without the right setup or up to level gear, this boss could get a little tricky. Once Archie's health is depleted, the orb picks him up and swirls him around a starry whirlwind, taking away the cocky tone from his voice, turning it into more of a cry for help. As the whirlwind swirls louder,
Phase 2 doesn't start if the golem's still alive. Really? That seems like a glitch.
the crying of an enderman can be heard, as if you've angered on by staring at it. Just as the sound erupts into a screech, the heart of Ender emerges, as the orb utilizes more of its full power to create a non-physical form for itself, with the Arch-Illager as their vessel. Within this insectoid-like form, the Orb of Dominance can actually still be seen present here, floating within their own mouth. Archie's voice is still heard in a cocky manner, but extremely distorted, yet also looking quite sad in his animations.
I mean, that's got something like this, the Heart of Ender. It almost makes you wonder, like, are the Endermen almost like a corruption? Like, going with the theory, again, I'm talking about game theory a lot in this, but going with their theory that, like, the Endermen are, like, the evolved version of the builders that escaped to the end, and they kind of mutated over the many years, having only, like, chorus fruit to eat and stuff like that. Like, if this is the heart of Ender, and, like, say, like, Endermen and Endermites, you know, other things from the end came from it. Like, I wonder if you could almost classify, like, like, Ender and Enderman as almost being eldritch in nature. Like, maybe, thinking about it, I know, like, in many times, like, the Ender Dragon has always been shown, or, like, thought of as being, like, the oppressor of the Endermen. But I wonder if it was very much the other way around, where, like, the Endermen were the ultimate evil, and the dragon was, like, the last line of defense, like, holding them back or something like that, and then the player comes and kills them.
As the heart of Ender is defeated, a wither death sound can be heard as the screen flashes white, fading back to see their forms scattered from the arena, up a flight of stairs, and leading to Archie and the orb, struggling against each other. The orb tugs away while Archie holds onto them in desperation. The main story
Keep giving me power!
Showing Archie trying to stop his source of power from escaping him. The heart pulling further, until in another bright explosion, the orb shatters. Archie on the ground, surrounded by the shards of the orb, wakes up and quickly loses the aggression he composed himself with. Assuming he would be next on the chopping block, Archie begins to cower, before Valerie, who seems to recognize him, reaches out for his hand, finally allowing Archie to have friends. There were likely a lot of points where they could have noticed he wasn't in control, such as the time they met him in the village, or the unimaginable beast that had overtaken him.
Yeah, again, if they hadn't pushed him out of the village, or if he hadn't been pushed out of that village, that was the one turning point. That was the major thing. If that hadn't happened, none of this would have been going on.
But nonetheless, they figured it out regardless. After they've left, in the storming rains, the shards begin to slide towards each other to reform what they could.
Yeah.
Clearly, the heart of Ender would not die so easy. Some of the missing pieces from the orb had scattered extremely far across the vast overworld, completely out from the mainland and landing on separate islands, where many of the DLCs take place, which I'll talk about in the order they release, since they don't have an exact order to each other. The first piece landed in a jungle island, seeping with corruptive power, turning some of the nearby plants into more deadly beings that use magic, brute strength, or poison, with the shards spawning.
Jeez. Again, stuff that I will both want to and don't want to see in regular Minecraft. Like, oh god, I mean, I'm very much the kind of person that, you know, when I go into Minecraft, I just go in to build and play around. Like, I've beaten the Ender Dragon, like, twice. And one was in, was it a Skyblock series I did a long time ago? This is stupid! Why did I do this? Wait, I didn't do this on purpose. What am I talking about? And the other was in another series I was playing with people, where we were playing in, like, a Minecraft realm together. We had a little SMP going on. I think it was, like, called, I think it was Creator Craft or something like that. The playlist is somewhere.
It's over, Ender Dragon. I have the high ground. Oh god, it can fly!
It can fly! Oh no!
Did not end the way Star Wars promised me.
But, like, those are the only two times I've ever fought the Ender Dragon. Other than that, I never go into the end.
A creature around itself out of the foliage and ruins, such as a villager statue, which it uses as an arm. This is the jungle abomination. These shards are likely not sentient. In response to a question asking, so the Orb of Dominance shards have the power to bring things to life in different biomes. Is the orb doing this on its own due to losing its former master? Or is there a new foe controrling the shards? Mark Watson, a producer for Dungeons, states in a Q&A in the Minecraft Dungeons Discord, the full orb definitely has will/power of its own. It spent a lot of time working with Archie, but where did the orb come from in the first place? Shocked emoji. The specific mention of the full orb having its own proper will, under this context, suggests that these shards are not sentient. The orb has immense power.
They're just...
But as you will see, this power is a small piece of how it naturally should be.
Yeah, so it seems that the shards are just going on Like, the orb itself is sentient, but the shards are just going off, like, complete instinct here, which is evil.
Damage like this would, of course, likely end up shattering its mind into a dormant state. Instead, the shard has given the jungle abomination sentience. But just like the majority of these DLCs, you get to the place, find the bad thing, and defeat it. And eventually you would in the sun room of the overgrown temple. There are a lot of remnants of a society of sorts here, and lots of statues of things you'd imagine would be made, like slimes, ocelots, and zombies. But then you have statues of blazes too. The next island is a frozen over tundra, which apparently wasn't as cold as it is now. The island contains an ancient reclaimed lone fortress, similar to High Block Keep, and inhabited by illagers and undead who have taken residency. But once Archie was dethroned, everything fell into shambles, with the undead and illagers quickly turning on each other. One of the shards landed here, which was quickly swiped by a wraith, fastening it to a crown to draw its power, where it decided to coat the whole island in an even more inhospitable winter, beyond what the ice spikes of the Lost Settlement level had to offer. There are a lot of elite magic-wielding illagers here, like the Isolager, a previous mob vote candidate which originated from the scam, and the Illusioner as a mini-boss, a mob which is actually in vanilla, but currently unused. Defeating the wretched wraith, the animation includes its swoop.
Actually, wait, thinking back, I think there was an Easter egg with the... wait, with one of the illagers? I'm forgetting which, but if you have a blue sheep next to it, it'll, like, transform it into a red sheep or something like that. Oh, God, love it.
Being down to see the shard of the crown destroyed, shaking it and crying out. No significant lore other than expanding on the intelligence of wraiths. Yet, it's still a neat detail. Next island is the Howling Peaks. A very tall mountain surrounded by ocean is being threatened by a shard that has landed atop the peaks, with its seeping corruption carried by the winds. Getting higher and higher,
it's going to transform the
we can
goats!
see illagers have taken residence here. People used to live here. There's elevators and other structures like the Gale Sanctum, a giant temple that the shard has made its way into to infuse into one of the golems there. Inside the sanctum is a lot more technologically advanced machinery, using wind-powered squall golems and other assortments of traps to protect the special treasures and secrets.
Oh, I like that. That's cool. Interesting.
That have been left here. Coming to the end of the sanctum, we have the Tempest Golem, which has the shard, meaning it must be destroyed. Interestingly, however, the shard is first seen among the peaks outside, and in the wilds. The illager hordes, which are said to have arrived recently, and were racing to the peak of the mountain range, must have taken it to the Tempest Golem for their own nefarious purposes.
Hey, I mean, hey, we have this giant golem that we could potentially take control of and use for our own gains. Let's do it!
The Tempest Golem completely protects itself from damage, until the two pillars by its sides have been drained of their energy, with each one malfunctioning a side of its body with it, as it becomes vulnerable to attacks. All the while attacking the player with its blade-shaped arms, and calling down bolts of lightning with its stormy power, activating the nearby Squall Golems as it regains its defenses.
Okay, I'm just looking at the health bar here. I hope that's just a texture applied to the health bar to make it look like it's bolted on. Because otherwise I would think that this golem had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different phases. Which, yeah, that would be horrible.
Nothing really else of note. Like a lot of the others, there's a lot of detail
never mind.
about
There
the
we go.
history of this place. Much of which we've covered in the Broken God theory. So check that out if you haven't. Next is the Hidden Depths,
theory.
which instead of coming after the Howling Peaks DLC, it came out after the Flames of the Nether DLC. Why didn't I mention it? Nothing related to the story ever happens in the Nether DLC. It's essentially a supply run set of missions, which you traverse incredible environments in for gear, before getting back out. World's strangest holiday. The Hidden Depths is where you locate the final shard of the Orb of Dominance, landing in the oceans of the overworld. Its corruption creates underwater variants of the jungle mobs, out of kelp
even better.
and enemies, tangled among them. The shard ends up attaching to a creature older than even the Elder Guardians, the Ancient Guardian. The ocean monument is quite old, being left to the currents of the indifferent seas, as its guardians continue to roam its halls.
Oh god, just thinking about it. Again, I like the world building here, and also just the fact that like making the Minecraft world feel so much older than it is. But and I also like potentially like the idea of there being like more like just bosses you could find. Like, so I mean, you already have like the dragon, which is the good big final boss, and like the wither, which you can like endlessly summon and stuff like that. Then I'd love if there were more bosses like that you had to like farm and stuff to get like different rare minerals and not minerals, like items and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. Also, why is this one statue brown and this one's not? What's going on there?
And take out all that come near. Interestingly, compared to how calculating yet indifferent the Guardians seem to be, the Ancient Guardian is a lot more observant in the levels, seeing its shadow above you multiple times,
Oh, it's
stalking
watching.
you throughout, destroying bridges with its eye beams to hinder your efforts. The way it smashes through the wall of the monument, something it's made to protect, is a lot more careless. Maybe it's to do with the shard emboldening it to behave in such a way. But who
I
knows?
believe it.
All that we know is that it's been defeated, with the shard destroyed. As the shards are destroyed, 2 Endermen have found it. They are here in the overworld, under unusual circumstances. They have found the remains of the Orb of Dominance, which had mostly put itself back together at the top of the obsidian pinnacle. Yet, this isn't High Block Castle, it's in a cave. And the area outside is full of spruce trees, in a taiga, the same biome which we find the stronghold, an underground structure, in. The orb's
That leads
remains
to
are
the
here in the
end.
stronghold, far from the obsidian pinnacle it had been left in. The Endermen begin tearing apart the rocky wall, picking up the orb, one looking at the other Enderman, before they both teleport further in. As they walk forward, going their separate ways, we hear the sounds of the Heart of Ender as it appears in the end, speaking to the beginning. With the Enderman carrying the remains of the orb closer to the end portal, it drops in. There's a moment of silence. 6 Endercent emerge and remove the eyes from the portal, deactivating it. As the Heart of Ender peers through with its imperfect form, it speaks once more to the end. The heroes search throughout the overworld, defeating each Endercent.
Endercent. Jeez. Okay, that I don't think I'd ever heard of those before. Those looked really freaky.
Which have been heavily enchanted by the Eyes of Ender they've placed onto their chests. Each one hiding in a secret location within the Creeper Woods, Pumpkin Pastures, Soggy Swamp, Cacti Canyon, Desert Temple, and High Block Halls. As we activate the portal, we see a cutscene of Illagers appearing in the end, with the particles of the end portal around them, looking around in awe at the strange world around them. Clearly the end portal functions differently to the main game, placing the target at random locations on the outer islands, much like the Nether portal. We start in the end
Weird.
wilds. There's a lot of strange...
So I'm just trying to think of a lore reason because for that. Like, could it simply be like the fact that you have the Orb of Creation there, and unlike in the main game where you need all of the eyes to like focus you to get the portal started, maybe in this version what the eyes do is just make the portal more accurate, where like if you have all the eyes in, it'll set you to the center island so you can, you know, go to the dragon. But then as you take the more out, it's the area that you can land in gets bigger and bigger and more and less accurate.
plants and creatures unlike anywhere. The Enderlings, the main residents of the End, coexist, forming the civilization of this dimension. But they are in an unforeseen dilemma. There's the Watchling that's covered in eyes, with full view in every direction, sporting larger arms, groaning and chattering like a zombie. The Snareling, which act as a group of ambush attackers, shooting a goop at the target to trap them in place, communicating telepathically via a sort of static signal, much like the other creatures here, like the Enderman and Heart of Ender, leading to all nearby Snarelings to teleport and attack at once, hissing like the spiders of the overworld.
Jeez, thinking back, and we have no idea like how far back or into the future Minecraft Dungeon is to regular Minecraft. So I have to wonder, like, what happened? Like, if it's in the past, like, how far, how long ago was it where you were where you're basically able to like, where like these characters basically wipe out the civilization, or how far into the future is it where like Endermen have evolved into like all these weird and different forms.
Then the blastling, which sports a mane of fire surrounding its head, strategically keeping its
Very
distance,
weird.
and firing a sort of purple slime splat at their target. Their steps are like that of skeletons. Ruins are dotted around the ancient expanse of the wilds, in which watchlings stand guard among the lifeless skeletal forests and floating islands. As you head further through the end, their numbers and the variety of enderlings found here increase unusually, possibly signaling something ominous taking place deep
Punch the Enderman, falls into the hole. I love that.
in their world. They attack on sight, unlike Endermen in most cases, as they're all on edge right now, due to the illagers, which are said to have entered the End for their own sinister intentions. According to the Exploring the End Wilds article on the Minecraft website, they are here as invaders, and the Enderlings are not happy, locking them up in prison cells among the End docks. The illagers only being released once you defeat the Enderlings guarding these nuisances. They were not summoned here, but they came of their own volition, setting up camps throughout, and pushing further into the core of this dimension.
Yeah, I mean, given what we've heard in the story and what we know of, illagers, that makes perfect sense. Just, we want land, we want war, we want conquer.
The signs of their preparation are even in the stronghold, with fresh banners from modern High Block Keep and statues of Illager royal guards placed throughout. The same supplies they carry with them in the end, such as crates and boxes, can be found in the stronghold too. That's why the description of the stronghold level says it's recently been a hub of activity. In fact, this also explains the locked up villagers. Endermen have no need to keep them imprisoned here, but that certainly sounds like something the illagers would
do,
and have been doing throughout the game. This is why the events of the DLC take place at all. The Endermen find the orb in the stronghold, likely because the illagers had taken it from High Block Keep with them in their efforts, along with the remaining supplies left by the illagers. Instead, the Enderlings had fought them off, explaining why they would leave behind something precious that they would take all the way with them, like the orb and any supplies, which would be much needed. The orb, found in the state stashed away, was brought to the End as a desperate measure, not out of love or servitude. It had been left behind for a reason originally, after all. This is also why the End Descent had deactivated the End portal, all to protect
more
their
illagers
world
couldn't
from
come through,
further
yeah.
invaders, while they could handle this crisis. In the End Wilds, your path leads you to an End Gateway, to reach the core of the dimension, chasing down the Heart of Ender, teleporting to the very heart of the Void. You arrive at the outer islands of the Citadel, a structure now broken. Greater concentrations of villagers can be found in increased numbers, all the way to the monolithic gate, which stops them in their tracks, opening this gate to reach the enemy lurking closer to the center of the End. You fly from the outer citadel to the citadel proper. You've been chasing the Heart of Ender
what's the
for
final
entire
boss
game,
going to
really.
be?
Now with them
Like,
clearly
what's it
leading
going to
you
look
to
like?
the
What's
very
the true
center
form of the
their
Heart of
world.
Ender going to
Though
be?
not intentionally. This has to be for a reason, and it is. The Heart of Ender is broken. The orb was shattered, so its form in the End has been rendered imperfect, as referred to in both the game files and Ben Excel's ArtStation page, showcasing the models he made for the Echoing Void. The Heart of Ender gains their power from the End, with the Nameless One telling Archie, "Your orb's power, however, comes from somewhere far beyond."
So the Orb of Create. Okay, never mind. I thought they were like. I thought they were like one and the same. Okay, never mind.
In the novel. And this is true. That's why the remains of the Orb of Dominance manifests into a more powerful physical form upon entering the End, with direction and a goal to reach for the core. If the End offers them this much power, the center of it, a place so important it is referred to as the capital, must harbor more concentration of this force to pull from. And this is exactly what we see as the Heart of Ender forms a void pool in this location and dives straight into it. Everything shakes before the Heart of Ender emerges with a different look, a different form, the perfect form, mentioned in the files referring to this model as well. The fight is chaotic at this point. You fight against a creature who's creating objects like mirrors to reflect their own projectiles around the area, launching bombs, summoning massive swarms of endermite, with some even being enchanted. This is the true antagonist of Minecraft Dungeons, and you have finally defeated it. The eyes on the Heart of Ender's neck blast beams of energy outwards, slicing its lower body in half, the connections of the neck pieces giving away, groaning one last time as the Heart of Ender collapses into a pile of parts, with its head making a wither noise once more upon its last sign of life. The vengeful heart of Ender fades away. Returning home through the exit portal just beyond the center of the end, the heroes hold a party, celebrating an overworld that has finally been freed from the orb's influence, with the camera panning out as the narrator asks,
But even as this story ends, is a hero's work ever done?
Probably not.
As long as adventures await, heroes will answer the call.
showing 2 redstone golems among a group of mobs passing through, watching the party from a mountain. With our story coming to an end.
So that probably means that they didn't get all of the stuff that the orb created, and whatever it is still pumping out, you know, more redstone golems and more evil into the world, as it were.
There still lies a few questions. What may happen with the Nameless One? What happened to Archie after he was freed from the orb? What will happen next between the Illagers and the Enderlings? Why didn't you bring up the Mushroom Island? The Mushroom Island is a secret level that requires the collection of 9 runes from 9 separate levels, opening a way to the island where all the mushrooms are hostile, and letting the player face the mushroom monstrosity at the end of the level. If you want more details about that, I'd recommend you take a look at this video here, where we talk a bit about it. The Nameless One, however, we don't know much of. Considering there's a lot of talk and rumour of Minecraft Dungeons 2 happening at the time of writing this, maybe he could return in that game, or another. If you want to see more about some of the locations and their lore, we've got a ton of lore theories looking into their full history and more. Even our next theory video, where we're uncovering more of the Seer's history, the Nameless Kingdom's influence and reach upon the overworld, the secrets of the Lost Settlement, the full nature of the
there's a
overworld's
lot,
early
okay.
days, and a lot more. Subscribe if you haven't already to stay tuned for that video and the many more to come after. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in another video. But until then, have a good day or night.
You know, it is fascinating just how much lore you can get into something like Minecraft, where in the main game there's like no dialogue at all. And then, you know, you start spreading out with the spin-offs and books, and honestly, it is fascinating. And I mean, granted, I know like some of the visuals are kind of hampered by the fact everything has to be square, but at the same time, like, it can be really cool where like the Ender is almost like this weird eldritch abomination or something. Really cool. And I'm definitely gonna have to check out some more of Xatrix, more of his videos. But yeah, that's definitely gonna be it for now. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video linked to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.